As I'm sure you're already well aware, every single American is going to receive a $1,200 check from the $2 trillion Congress-passed CARES Act stimulus. However, the more I've been looking into it, the more I'm realizing that there are certain groups of people that are likely to fall through the cracks and will not receive any kind of benefit from this stimulus. So in this video, I'm going to go over the groups of people who are likely to fall through the cracks here and why the program was set up this way. So the program was set up this way mostly for speed. Congress decided the quickest way to send these checks out to everyone was to send that $1,200 check out to every single tax-paying individual who paid taxes in either 2018 or 2019. The stimulus is based off of your 2019 taxes, but they can use your 2018 taxes if you have not yet filed for 2019. And I'll go into more details on that later. So make sure you watch through this entire video, because even if you think you qualify, you might be one of the groups that can fall through the cracks. And depending on the group that you're in, there's potential recourse you could do to make sure that you receive at least your portion of this stimulus. So the first group that's falling through the cracks is college students and anyone over the age of 17 that is a dependent on their parents or someone's taxes. Because as part of the rule, if you're a dependent over the age of 17, you don't qualify for the $500 additional bonus stimulus portion. So for children under the age of 17, if a parent is claiming that child on their taxes, they get an additional $500 per child per dependent on the taxes. But the way it's outlined is if you're over the age of 17, you don't apply. So for millions of college students across the United States who are financially dependent on their parents, how many college students do you know that are able to afford all of their expenses themselves, their rent, their food, and then right now they're probably living at home, with their parents, eating their food, digging through the pantry, and none of those parents will receive any kind of benefit stimulus-wise having those children as dependents, and especially in a time where most people's incomes are limited, maybe people have lost their jobs, everyone is having some kind of financial difficulty right now. And this is going to be a reoccurring theme on the dependent issue, and this brings me to the next group of people, and that's disabled adults whose parents support them. It's another issue with the dependency because these people are also over the age of 17 and are filed as dependents on whoever's taking care of them's taxes. And the issue here is very similar to the college student issue, except it's even more exacerbated because disabled adults are the definition of reliant on whoever's taking care of them, the definition of a dependent. Those people have higher than normal expenses, especially if there's medical related things, or they simply can't make any amount of money in a lot of cases because they're either bedbound or have something going on where they can't earn any money and need a full-time caretaker, which takes time and energy out of who's taking care of them, time that could be spent earning more money. And again, these people are also no doubt having some financial difficulties right now. They could have either had their hours limited, lost their jobs. Everyone is struggling right now. And I can't imagine what that group is going through right now, having a disabled adult or someone who you're financially taking care of and having to spend all this time to take care of, and then you don't receive any kind of financial benefit whatsoever. The silver lining here is Social Security benefit holders, either for retirement or disability, actually don't need to file taxes in order to get the $1,200 stimulus check. However, the caveat here is if you're a dependent on someone else's taxes, you don't count at all in this case for the $500 additional benefit. Another strange group that may fall through the cracks are married couples that are recently divorced or estranged. Now, it's the fourth month of 2020, and a lot can happen in those 4 months. So if someone got a divorce between the time of filing taxes for 2019 and now, or maybe they're not on speaking terms with their husband or wife, this could potentially be an issue with the stimulus, because the stimulus check is going to be sent to whichever bank account was attached to the 2019 taxes. And if you and your spouse are estranged, not talking, that might go to one or the other, and no benefit will go to the other person unless there's communication and cooperation there, because there's no way in the IRS system in order to say, hey, we recently divorced or have an estranged marriage, this needs to be split. There's simply no way to do it. So if you're in a situation similar to that, this is the kind of thing that it's best to get right out in front of and try to make it so whoever your spouse was, if you're recently estranged, work out a deal where you can both split that and have some kind of amicable agreement there. Another similar dependency issue is senior citizens who are living with their kids. Now, many senior citizens, even if they're working their entire lives, retire and then live with their kids, and many of those kids in that situation would file their senior citizen parent as a dependent on their taxes. And normally that would save you some money, but in this situation, you're not going to be eligible for that $500 bonus per dependent because, again, they're over the age of 17. And this one I find really ridiculous because that senior citizen could have been a tax-paying citizen literally for 40, 50, 60 years of their life, and now they're living with someone else is claiming them as a dependent. They're not going to receive any benefit personally, and whoever's claiming them isn't going to receive any benefit, despite the fact that they could have been, productive tax-paying citizens their entire life. So that's kind of a weird one. Another strange one is parents who split custody. Now, many parents who are divorced, they'll take turns on who gets to claim the children on their taxes. So, maybe every even year you get to claim the children on your taxes. Every odd year your spouse gets to claim them on the taxes. The thing that might be an issue here is whoever claimed their children on the taxes in 2019 is going to be the beneficiary of the stimulus money per child. And this is going to happen because, again, the stimulus is attached to whichever bank account was attached to the 2019 taxes. So if you had claimed the children for 2019, you're going to get that full benefit. And if that was your spouse, they're going to get the full benefit, and you're going to have to try and work out some agreement where you can split that because it's based off of tax year. And I could potentially see there being a lot of issues here where, one spouse receives, per child could easily be $1,500, $2,000, and they might not want to share that right away. And there's really nothing you can do unless there's an amicable agreement there where you can share it, and hopefully you can work something out with your spouse if you're in that situation. Another group that simply won't qualify is immigrants without social security numbers. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen in order to receive this stimulus payment, but you do need to have a social security number. That means immigrants with green cards and those on H-1B and H-2A visas will get payments, but non-resident aliens, temporary workers, and immigrants in the U.S. illegally will not receive any kind of stimulus. Another group to consider here is babies born in 2020. Again, this is the issue because the stimulus is based off of 2019 taxes. So if you had a child born in 2020, that means tax-wise, there's no recognition of that child yet. But with this one, there's another silver lining because you will ultimately receive that stimulus money. You'll just receive it once you file your 2020 taxes. There'll be a credit here, and I'll go over later how you simply won't lose this stimulus money if you don't receive it right away. And again, that stimulus money will go to whichever parent claimed that child in 2020. So make sure you're aware of that for your 2020 taxes if you need to split that or however you need to make an agreement with your spouse or your baby mama. If for whatever reason you don't receive your stimulus money, good news is it's not gone forever. Now, the best way to get your stimulus money as soon as possible is to already have had your bank account information with the IRS for your 2019 taxes. However, many people don't have that, and you'll be mailed a paper check for your stimulus money. The issue here is it could be 5 or 6 months is what they're saying before those checks are actually received by the taxpayers. And I know most of you are struggling right now and you'd like to have money right now because in 5 or 6 months this might all be blown over and we might be totally fine. And money today is simply always worth more than money tomorrow. So there's one thing you can do here. In the next month or two, the IRS is coming up with an online portal that will allow you to add your bank account information in, and you'll be able to then receive this stimulus money electronically and much sooner than with the paper check, and probably with much less issue, because I can only imagine if they're sending out literally millions of paper checks, some of them are going to get lost, they're going to be sent to your old address and not forward to you. I can just see a million issues here as far as those paper checks go. But another silver lining here, because I want to put some positive news in, is if you don't receive that stimulus at all throughout the year 2020, it's not gone. It'll be waiting for you on your 2020 tax return. So in 2021, when you file your taxes for 2020, that will be there on part of your tax return, and you will ultimately get that stimulus, $1,200 on your 2020 taxes. So don't worry too much about the fact that you may not receive it right away, because ultimately you will receive it. However, again, money today is always worth more than money tomorrow. So I would try and get it. Even if you don't need it, you might as well try and get it sooner than later and just be ahead of the game there. Another strange group here is high income earners who lost their jobs. Now again, this is because the stimulus is based off of your 2019 taxes. Anyone who earned more than $99,000 in 2019 will not receive the stimulus check. However, you could have received $99,000 in 2019, but then just got fired in March or laid off or don't have a job whatsoever, and you will not receive the stimulus check. And that's a bit ridiculous. I think that's something that they really need to work on and try and find some kind of solution for. Obviously, there's unemployment and other options, but to not be applicable at all seems a bit ridiculous, especially for someone who's a high-producing individual in the economy. This one seems especially ridiculous to me. And as you're probably already aware, there are other income limits on receiving these stimulus checks, which makes sense. For high-income earners, if you make below $75,000, you'll receive the full $1,200 stimulus check, and that slowly decreases until about $99,000 per year. For married couples, you'll receive the full $2,400 if the joint couple makes less than $150,000 a year. And again, that scales down until $198,000 for the joint filing. And the $2,400 will just slowly scale down from there. Honestly, if you're making that much, this $1,200 isn't going to make much of a difference for you, and if you already have your job. So you're probably not watching this video right now if you're in one of those brackets. But I mean, it's always nice to get that extra check. So here's a situation to think about. If you earned under $75,000 in 2018 and over $75,000 in 2019, but have not yet filed your 2019 taxes yet, you will receive the full $1,200 stimulus. But you will have to pay either all or a portion of that back in 2021 when you file your 2020 taxes. This is because it's based off of your most recent taxes. So here's an example. If you earned $60,000 in 2018 and $120,000 in 2019 and haven't filed your 2019 taxes yet, you'll receive that full $1,200 stimulus check, but you will be required to pay the entire amount back in your 2020 tax return. And that you can scale that however it goes. If you made $60,000 in 2018, $85,000 in 2019, you have to pay a portion back. So that's something to be aware of. You might receive that check, but be totally aware that you will have to pay a portion of that back in your 2020 taxes. So don't try to think that you just slip through the cracks there and you're getting some extra cash without anyone realizing, because you're going to ultimately have to pay that back. And the last group that will not be eligible for the $1,200 stimulus check are people who owe back on child support. Now, this is kind of a strange one too, because if you owe back on child support and you're making payments, and let's say you're 100% up on payments, you're on track to pay it off completely, you still unfortunately will not receive any form of stimulus check, which is also kind of ridiculous because these are obviously people who need the money right now and could potentially be on a track to pay it off. I don't really agree with that one, but that's just another stimulation here in the law. So finally, unless you're a Social Security benefit recipient, either for disability or retirement, you have to have your 2018 and 2019 taxes filed as soon as possible in order not to be overlooked for the stimulus check. And another piece of good news here is TurboTax is offering a free simple tax return and registration service for these stimulus checks if you haven't yet filed your 2018 and 2019 taxes. So make sure you do that as soon as possible if you want to be considered and you want to be part of the stimulus package. And I hope this information was illuminating for you on what to expect with the stimulus package. If this video helped you out at all, please click like on this video. It helps the YouTube algorithm. And also make sure you subscribe. I'm posting all the updates I can on this entire stimulus package. And I'm just consuming all this information in order to put it out to you guys, and I would really appreciate it. Until next time, hope you have a profitable day.